Drop a like and subscribe if you need a 2400 COD point code for the brand new battle pass. All right, what is going on? What is happening? How's everybody doing today? My name is Chuck and welcome back to a brand new video. So to start off season 3, what we're doing is I'm going to be giving you guys my top settings you guys can use here in Warzone. I know you guys asked me this question quite a bit in the comment section, so I'm going to go through and give you guys every single setting that I happen to use, explain why I use it, so you guys can definitely alter yours up to be able to have the best possible Warzone experience. Before any further into the video, if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys go ahead and drop me a follow over on my Twitch. The link is in the description below. You guys can definitely go find me over there. I'm going to be live streaming over there all the time, get some gameplays here for Dansk84. And as always, make sure you guys drop like the next 5 seconds for some good luck and consider subscribing. We're on the road to 800,000 subscribers, so we also can join the squad. Okay, so jumping into my settings here, what we're going to do is I'm going to go through every single option I happen to have, and I'm going to break it down for you guys. I'm not going to go into the keyboard and mouse here because I do play the controller on PC. I play the PS4 SCUF controller, so let's actually just jump into my general settings here. And of course, like I said, I play with the controller here. On my field of view, I play on the maximum field of view, which is only available on PC. Unfortunately, it's not available on any of the next generation consoles or the previous generation consoles. It's just not really going to be viable for them to add that in there. Just the frames couldn't keep up. So I play in 120 field of view, but that's why some people think that I run super fast my gameplays. It's not just because I'm actually literally moving faster. It's because my gameplay is more zoomed out, so it literally looks like I am running faster. Also, my field of view is unaffected. That means my gun actually doesn't zoom in to the point where it normally would if I was on, a regular console field of view. That's why it says zoomed out, and sometimes people think I have literally no recoil. I do happen to have the recoil, but because it's actually zoomed out, it doesn't actually look like I have nearly as much. This is kind of one of those things where it's really just visual only. It's not like I'm actually getting any benefit or anything else like that. My brightness is still here on 55. I really don't think you have to alter this too much, considering the new map is actually a lot lighter and more vibrant and easy to see people on, which I genuinely really like. And then I have my heads-up display and all this stuff down here. And then also, we're gonna have to tell you guys this: the mini-map shape, this always has to be on square. If you guys even look at this right here, basically you can see that the mini-map shape on the circle gives you only this field of view. Then when you put the square on, this gives you a significantly bigger field of view on what is around you. So always run the square mini-map. If you don't run the square mini-map, you're doing it wrong. Now we're gonna jump into my graphics settings here real quick. I do happen to play on the display mode of full screen borderless just because I don't have a dual PC set up. This allows me to move my mouse and stuff back and forth when I want to alter my scenes and stuff in OBS, and I'm streaming and everything else like that. I have an Asus 144 Hz refresh rate monitor, so that's what allows me to have some pretty smooth frames. I have an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. It's the 11GB version here. I play on the refresh rate of 144 frames, and I play on 100% resolution. I don't really crank that up or anything or crank it down. It just happens to be that this is the best for me, just to keep it pretty standard, and that way I don't lose any frames, or more or less I don't make my game look worse than it actually is. But we actually got a new feature here, which we'll talk about in just a second, which actually made it so we get more frames. My aspect ratio is just kind of automatic. VSync is disabled. Custom frame rate is unlimited. I do have the NVIDIA highlights disabled. NVIDIA reflex low latency is enabled, plus boost, which gives me more frames and everything else like that, which is fantastic. And then I do happen to just go through all these different settings here. You guys can definitely copy these down if you play on PC. This is what I'm running with my current build in my PC. Now what's actually really interesting is we get to this new thing what I was talking about here, which is NVIDIA DLSS. What this actually does is that this offers you boosted performance if you're on a PC, which can give you extra frames in Warzone, which is absolutely massive considering how much you have to render in on your PC. This is one of the benefits of playing on PC. Apart from the FOV, you can just increase your frame rate more, so you can turn down a lot of different stuff, and it becomes very much so a customized experience, which I genuinely enjoy, which is why I moved over to PC. And of course, I have my depth of field that disabled. World motion blur is disabled. This should always be disabled no matter what. Weapon motion blur, disable this entirely. Film grain has to be at 0. There's no reason to make your game look more grainy. It doesn't do you any benefit. And then that's really about it. As far as the audio and stuff goes, the audio mix really doesn't matter that much. You just have to see what's going to work best for your headphones. I have the SteelSeries Arcticus Pro headset, so I just happen to run dynamic home theater, and this allows me to hear everybody with this sort of setup. This actually goes through a different, XLR unit because of my microphone. So for whatever reason, this happens to work the best for me. So just basically change this back and forth till you find what works best for you. We can hear your footsteps and everything else like that, and it just happens to be a very balanced thing. If you want to be able to increase something, do it and just mess with it. It's really not like there's one god tier version of an audio mix to use. It's just literally dependent on what you happen to have a headset for, if you're playing on a TV, etc, etc. Now the portion which I'm sure you guys have all been waiting for here, which is some controller settings. So this is going to be my BR button layout. I'm on tactical flipped. I play with the PlayStation 4 controller, so that means I use my L1 and my R1 up top to be able to aim and shoot, as opposed to my L2 and my R2, 2. Granted, I do have trigger stops, so it wouldn't really matter that much if I was to use the bottom ones because they still click in just as fast. But for those of you guys that are on just more or less a regular controller, using your top triggers is going to make it so that you actually pull the trigger in quicker. It may not be as comfortable if you're used to using the bottom ones, but usually speaking, the top bumpers are always going to be quicker if you're on a regular controller, and that could mean the difference between, you know, life and death situation. You could be pulling that thing in, but it has to go all the way in for it to register, as opposed to the top where it's just a slight click, which is huge. So that's the reason I run tactical flipped, and I basically have done that my entire time playing on, you know, whatever game possible. As long as it has the option, I always run it. My Deadzone's a 0.10. Basically, I use this just because, you know, this is what has worked for me. Your Deadzone is basically to keep it so that your character doesn't have that like weird stick drift. So if you set your controller down and it starts moving around, you have to increase your Deadzone basically until it does not move around. But if you have like a controller that's got a ton of stick drift, then you may at some point need a new controller, and you just can't, you know, keep bumping your Deadzone all the way up, because that's just gonna make your controller unresponsive. But as far as my horizontal stick sensitivity goes, I'm on a high for 7. I'm on my vertical as a 7. This is basically what I play on. I don't really feel the need to alter this anymore to make it higher or lower. This seems to be perfect for me to be able to get those turn-ons, be able to, you know, whip around real fast, but also it's not too fast for me to the point where I'm just, you know, strafing way past people. Because if you have a high sensitivity and you're strafing past people, that means you're less accurate, 1, and that means, you know, 2, if you're less accurate, not hitting your shots, you're probably going to die more often. So don't throw your sensitivity way up high if you can't do it. Put it to your preference here. This is for me a 7.7, feels fantastic, so just kind of do that. Also, your ADS sensitivity multiplier is a huge thing as well. This used to be set for a 1.0 right when Modern Warfare / Warzone came out. I bumped this down to a 0.8. What this does is it slows down your aim when you're moving your gun around a little bit more. So definitely go ahead and do this, you know, because some of those longer scopes, if you have a high ADS sensitivity multiplier, you're just going to be going all the way around, and it's not going to do you any benefit. You're just going to not be able to hit shots, and it's just going to make you incredibly inaccurate. So this is another one of those things that is hugely beneficial to mess with. So for me, I turned it down to a 0.8. You guys can definitely try and turn it down to a 0.8. See what you feel about it. I think this is an amazing setting to be able to mess with. My aim response curve type is just on standard. I don't feel the need to switch it to linear or dynamic. I've tried them out. I don't think there's really any difference. If you guys feel like there's a major difference, go for it. But for me, I don't really feel like there's a difference. My controller vibration's enabled, but I don't really feel like, I guess because I'm on PC. My aim assist is just on standard. Some people have tried precision and focusing. I've actually tried precision and focusing. I'm not really too big of a fan of either of them. I just play on standard. It's not like these things are going to make or break your, you know, gaming experience. If they make or break your gaming experience, I mean, I guess you're maybe not that great of a player, but realistically, you just have the standard aim assist on. And if somebody tries to tell you that aim assist disabled is better, then I don't know what they're smoking, but it's got to be kind of crazy, because aim assist for controller players is almost necessary unless for whatever reason you've just grown up without playing aim assist on your controller. Then that means you're just kind of like a phenom. You're just a little bit, you're different. You're built different than the rest of us here. We all need aim assist. It's just one of those things. My aim assist also scales my FOV. My weapon mounts is you know, ADS plus melee. There's nothing really crazy in here. My aim down sights behavior is obviously hold, and then this is a huge one here. Your use/reload behavior is contextual tap. The reason you want to run this is because when you're running around for dance, you want to be able to just tap a button on something. For me, I'm on PlayStation, so I just tap square, and when I tap square, I instantly pick up that thing, and that can be a huge difference. Like, instead of holding square to have to pick something up, holding square to collect this, hold square to collect that, it's just tap, and you just loot up really quickly. You can drop stuff, pick stuff up, and then if you're in a vehicle, all you literally have to do is hold square instead of just tap it to be able to reload. Otherwise, you will literally get out the vehicle. So it's just one of those things. It takes a little bit of time to get used to, but overall hugely beneficial. And if somebody tells you otherwise, to use something different, don't listen to them. Contextual tap is the move. Also, this is pretty useful right here. If you have the option for the armor plate behavior, hit apply all. That way when you hold down triangle, for me, because I'm on PlayStation, it starts applying every single plate. You don't have to consistently hold the button. It'll just apply all of them for you. That is a great addition to the game, and it sometimes saves you from having to hold down that button. You can be able to take your thumb off there and move it back to the other stick. It's definitely really solid. My slide behavior is on tap, and my auto move forward is disabled. enabled. I happen to play on automatic sprint because I'm trying to save my left stick. I'm not trying to constantly be mashing that sprint button. This really does help out. Also, my slide behavior, because it's on tap and not hold, I'm able to do that slide cancel thing. If you play on hold, you're not really going to be able to do that slide cancel because you have to be able to like hit the right stick twice, hit left stick once, and that's basically how you slide cancel. So you like tap right, and then you tap immediately on the left stick, and that's what's going to be beneficial for you to slide cancel. So that's why you want to keep this on tap instead of hold. I was playing on hold for a while because I was doing a different version of slide canceling, but it's not as good in Warzone. You have to play it up. It's just you can't really do that. So definitely do the regular method of slide canceling by using the tap on the slide behavior. This is great, and this will obviously save your analog stick from having to mash it in there. I've basically broke a controller unintentionally just by mashing in that sprint button so much, it just kind of stopped working. So if you play, you know, Warzone a lot, you play Call of Duty a lot, that's going to be one of those things that's going to happen. And so you want to, you know, elongate your controller's, you know, life by actually using automatic tactical sprint. It can be a little bit weird when you're trying to use a dual wield weapon. You just have to get used to it. It may want to keep you sprinting instead of firing. You just have to be able to understand that you just can't continuously press the forward button when you're actually spraying. But more or less, that's really about it. And my parachute's just on auto deploy. I keep this. I usually get low enough to the ground anyways with the auto deploy on. It's just like one of those things you can definitely turn off, but it's not like it's going to be a huge thing like where you're gonna like, oh my god, like I'm gonna get so close to the ground. I mean, sometimes you just end up like hitting the button way too late and you just die. So for me, I'm just like, you know what, let me just keep this on enabled, and that way that never ever happens. That's all my settings I got for you guys here today. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, give it a like, subscribe if you are brand new, turn on those notifications, comment in the comment section below if you got any questions. Go feel free to ask me. I'll try my best to respond back to as many as I can. With that being said, I'll see you guys back here again tomorrow with a brand new video. Just sort of Captain, be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.